Kairidis, welcome. You're the Minister for Migration and Asylum from Greece. What's your reaction?
First of all, thank you very much for being here and for being invited here. I want to congratulate all the speakers and especially my predecessor. Ian is a good friend, so I'm not going to flatter him, but for sure Karel. And what it comes down to... And what it comes down to is that enough with crying over spilled water and enough with the Cassandras. The world does not need any more Cassandras. We from academia, because I used to be a university professor and journalist, and everybody are very used to. And minister, okay, fine, but a minister cannot afford to be a Cassandra. A minister needs to do things and needs to be optimistic. But everybody else, all the pundits in Europe, enough with all of them, that the world is going sour and, what they can do, and Trump and this and that. We need action. And instead of Cassandras, we need Ulysses, who will provide solutions and will show the way ahead. And I think there are a lot of assets in our disposal as long as we grab the reality and we move forward exactly in that spirit of Karel's call to arms. We need a new narrative, we need a new rhetoric, we need a narrative that will make Americans understand their interests and how much they can be affected by a rivalry with Europe, instead of calling to the common values, the common history, international law, and all the other niceties that most European politicians, and especially EU commissioners, are so prone to pontificate about. They wouldn't take you far in today's Washington. We need a different kind of rhetoric for sure, and we can surely master it. Now, for a politician now, such as me, this is a very interesting time, and I think and it has become even more interesting because, in a sense, the ball is in our court, in the court of politicians, of elected officials, the national leaders of Europe, to make the necessary changes. I don't expect the Commission, I don't expect the EU bureaucrats, I don't expect second-rate politicians sent in Brussels to do the job, to do this. It is for the national capitals and for the statesmen of Europe really to come together and make the necessary changes. Now, to say that Trump was a shock is an understatement. I mean, one only needs to speak to our Danish friends to understand this. It shouldn't have been, we shouldn't have been so unprepared. In a sense, this comes down to what it was said years ago: Europe comes from Venus, America comes from Mars, and Trump signifies and embodies this different to the outer limit, right? For the first time, we had McKinley instead of Wilson in the inaugural speech. And Europe, par excellence, has been creative on a Kantian base and has a difficulty with Hobbes and these geostrategic rivalries, for sure. But I agree with Karel that there are more continuities. Even when it comes to economic protectionism, one should only remember how many billions of dollars Biden spent, authorized and spent, on industrial policy in America for chip making and all the other things. So one should try to de-dramatize. Now, the biggest challenge is not only geostrategic, it is also about political realignment. And one thing that we have not realized is that the Trump people want to change as well the politics of Europe, and are already, it's not only Elon Musk, it's the ambassadors they are sending in all the European countries. They are looking forward to the il sorpasso. This is the replacement of the center-right by the far-right as the dominant force on the right. In Greece, we had the il sorpasso on the left in 2012 when PASOK lost its predominance and Syriza became the dominant party on the left. left. We have had il sorpasso in many European countries, like Austria recently, and obviously Italy with Meloni, and even in France with Le Pen over the Republicans. But it will be much more interesting to see if this can happen in Britain or even in Germany. But this is the aim. Now, I take the common sense, you said, common sense. Trump keeps on saying common sense. And I think that we, the forces of common sense, should give the honorable fight. We had a lot of non-common sense in the past. When it comes to migration, that you want to be interested, one has only to read or listen to Libe in the European Parliament, which to me has been a disgrace to Europe and to realistic migration policies in the past, to understand the lack of common sense in dealing with this very big challenge. I mean, next to green transition and climate change, next to technological transition and AI, migration is the third biggest challenge the West is faced with because of demography, because of all sorts of things. And we had that nonsense from the left, but this is no excuse to replace the nonsense of the left with the nonsense of the far right and the cries of the far right. Because at the end of the day, we do need legal migration. It is essential. And at the end of the day, this policy of Trump that we see now unfolding, of course, we will see how it will be negotiated with the courts, with the states, especially those run by Democrats. There are a lot of uncertainties. But at the end of the day, the biggest compromise is with the needs of the economy. And already we have seen that crack in his coalition, in this very diverse coalition that elected him, that included a lot of Hispanics and blacks and young people. The cracks between Elon Musk and the need of economy with the renewal of the visa program, HB, one visa program on the one hand, and the MAGA core and base of the movement that brought him to power.
Dimitris, you said a few minutes ago, it's going to be interesting. Let me put it to you, it could become very sinister if politicians don't get a grip, picking up Carol's point, picking up the enormity of the change that's underway. And he says we've got to be more assertive. Europe has got to be more assertive. If you remember, last week, Trump phoned the Danish Prime Minister and had what the Danes described as a horrendous conversation over Greenland because of the bullying that came from Washington. Is that something you've got to accept now here in Europe?
Well, we have to give the battle, and the battle is not only towards that side, I mean Trump, but first of all, this is a battle, first and foremost, of the center-right, I believe, of politicians such as myself coming from the center-right, that has been traditionally the liberal European bastion. And one of the problems of the center-right that is too often is appears coward, and in its effort to avoid the il sorpasso, it shoots itself in the foot. We've seen that with Sunak in Britain. We've seen that with Nehammer in Austria. We've seen that with the Republicans in France. They adopt the rhetoric and all the, cries of the far right when it comes to migration, for example. And at the end of the day, the only thing they do is to weaken themselves, legitimize this rhetoric, and make it much easier for the politics of unreason, not of common sense, of unreason. There is nothing commonsensical in saying that solar power is sissy, that says solar power is woke, than saying that wind power is for socialists and the leftists, and that we will drill, baby, drill. There is nothing scientifically based and nothing...
Right, let's pause for a moment. Where do you believe or think we might be in, say, 6 months, Dimitris? 30 seconds.
It depends on the election results. We'll see what happens in Germany. I think I will add Canada into this equation of bringing us closer together. We have so many things in common with Canada. Starmer, I want him to be much more bold in reassessing the hard Brexit, and so on and so forth. So we have tools. I think the biggest battle of today is not between necessarily left and right, but between those who believe in a data-driven and reality-based politics and the fantasies of left and right.
All right.
And we have to give that battle based on reason. The politics of reason need to combat the politics of unreason that are on the rise.